He was 47. He sat on the cold asphalt under the dim light of a street lamp. The city around him was alive. People laughed, walked by cars, roared in the distance. But he heard nothing. He was empty. In his pocket was only an old phone with a cracked screen. In his heart was only pain his wife had left for another. His children had turned away. His business had scattered like ashes in the wind. His friends had vanished like shadows. He stared at his hands and could not believe these were the same hands that once signed deals, built companies, held his children. Now those hands trembled from the cold and weakness. He felt there was no reason left to live, that everything was over, that he had lost. But in that very moment when the darkness closed in, he remembered one phrase: "You have not lost until you surrender." And he clenched his fists, raised his head, and whispered to himself, "This is not the end. This will be the beginning." He was born in a small town where everyone knew each other, and where life moved slowly but steadily. From childhood, he saw his father working at the factory day after day, waking up at 5 in the morning and returning late at night just to feed the family, and it was then that he understood that success never falls from the sky, that it must be earned with hard work at school. He was not the best student, but he always had a hunger for knowledge, and he knew how to make his first money selling newspapers, helping neighbors, carrying bags at the market. At 16, he dreamed of escaping the small town and going to study in the big city. At 18, he made that step. He entered university, where he studied economics and at the same time worked delivering pizza and serving as a waiter. He was never afraid of work, because he knew that every coin earned with his own hands was a step toward the dream. At 25, he opened his first small business. It was an electronics shop where he sold phones and accessories. He did not have big starting money, but he had passion and faith in himself. This business taught him the most important thing, that customers only trust those who are honest and ready to work with all their heart. His way up began from nothing. He had no money, but he had iron persistence. He took any job he could find, selling at the market, helping carry boxes, handing out flyers at night. He sat at an old computer, searching for opportunities, reading books, watching lectures, trying different ideas. He had no support, but he had the hunger to prove he was not broken. His first attempts failed. One business closed, another brought no profit, but he did not stop. One day, he opened a small company repairing and selling electronics. He worked alone, slept 3 hours a night, and reinvested every coin he earned. By the age of 38, his business was already known in the city. By 42, he had a chain of stores and dozens of employees. He felt like a winner. He had a family, a wife, 2 children. He bought a house, a car. He thought it would last forever. But at that very moment, he made his first fatal mistake. He started to believe his strength was limitless. He began to risk more than he should. He took huge loans, trusted people who only dreamed of his downfall, and just when he thought he had reached the top, the countdown to his collapse had already begun. He woke up one morning and everything was already different. The banks called every hour, demanding their money back. Partners started to withdraw from deals. His employees' phones were silent because they were afraid to answer. Clients lost trust. His stores stood empty, shelves covered in dust. People walked past and entered his competitors'. Rumors spread across the market that his company was bankrupt, that he could no longer keep his word. Friends who only yesterday shared the same table with him vanished as if they had never existed. His wife looked at him like a stranger, her eyes filled with disappointment and cold, and when he needed support the most, she said she could no longer stay by his side. His children turned away because they heard from others that their father was a loser and a debtor. He was left alone in the office that once was full of life. Now it held only empty desks and chairs. He sat in the middle of the room and felt the world closing in around him. Yesterday, he had everything. Today, he had nothing. The house was sold, the cars were taken, the business destroyed, the family broken. He was left on the street under the open sky, with only an old phone in his pocket and the feeling that there was no road ahead. He sat at a bus stop under the cold rain, his clothes soaked through. In his pocket were only a few coins, not enough even for bread. He watched people passing by and felt invisible, as if he no longer existed to anyone. He slept in stairwells, on benches in the park, discarded and unwanted. It seemed to him that the world had forgotten him. He stopped looking in the mirror because he feared seeing empty eyes. He stopped speaking because there was no one to talk to and nothing left to say. That night, when the cold pierced his bones, he wanted to give up. He wanted to just fall asleep and never wake up. But inside him there was still a small, stubborn voice whispering, "Get up, fight, prove you are still alive." He remembered how his father once, after a long shift at the factory, told him, "Never give up, son." And then he raised his head, looked at the night sky and said to himself, "If I have fallen, then I have the strength to rise. If I have lost everything, then I have something to fight for." From that moment, his road back began. He decided to start from zero, with no money, no support, but with the faith that even from the deepest darkness it is possible to step into the light. He started with the simplest. He had no business, no money, no connections, but he had hands and the will. He went to the market asking for any job. At first they laughed at him, saying he was once the owner of stores and now carried boxes, but he paid no attention. He hauled bags, worked as a loader, handed out newspapers, cleaned warehouses, and put every coin into his pocket. He lived on bread and water, slept in workers' hostels, but his heart was filled with a strange strength because he knew this was only the beginning. He bought an old laptop with his last money, and in the evenings he sat in the library studying new technologies, reading about business, about marketing, about people who rose from nothing. It was hard, but he began to believe. He could still create something of his own. One day, he found an old phone, repaired it and sold it at the market, earning a little more than he spent. It was a small thing, but it was then he realized he was still capable of making money with his own hands. He started collecting broken devices, repairing them and selling them. At first, it was only a few pieces a week, then dozens. He worked in a basement under the rumble of old pipes. But in his heart a new fire was burning. He felt again that he was capable of creating. His small electronics repair business began to grow. At first a few clients a day, then dozens. People trusted him because he was honest and worked with heart. He felt the taste of success again. But now he knew he could not stop. He rented a small space, set up a few tables, bought tools, and started taking bigger orders. He hired his first employees, teaching them his principles of honesty and hard work. He worked nights himself to keep everything running smoothly. His business grew every day. He opened new directions, selling used devices, offering new services by 45. He already had a small chain of stores and a steady income. He realized that even after the greatest defeat, it is possible to rise if you do not give up, if you work with integrity and believe in yourself. He looked at his path and understood that the collapse had become a lesson. Losing everything had helped him find true strength. That struggle had made him stronger and wiser. He never forgot anything from the past because it all became the foundation of his new life. One day, he received a large order from a company looking for a reliable electronics supplier. He took it on with all his heart, working day and night, checking every detail and every device he hired. New people opened new stores and expanded services. Clients saw his dedication and it brought profit. He made deals with major companies, and within a year, his network became known across the country. He became an example for those who fell and did not give up his business, brought in millions. He bought the house he dreamed of as a child, the car that gave freedom, travel, and his children once again looked at him with respect and love. He became not just successful, he became a strong person who knows that even after the greatest defeat, it is possible to rise and create something beyond dreams. He looked at his life and understood that the pain and suffering he went through were the price of his strength and wisdom, and now he could say to himself, I survived, I fight, I created my life.